This is the 268th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the 4th and last week of July 2017. I am your host, Jason Howard, and joining me, co-host, finishing up his July, looking very tan from all your days at the beach, is Justin Elstein. What? That's it.
That's not like a how you doing? Or
how you doing, Justin?
Oh, all right.
Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Oh, man, yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a week since our last podcast, so
just looking forward to, next episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
really enjoying
Can
this.
you imagine what the Red Queen did with the sword of Excalibur? No, what? All right. All right.
You're stupid.
So on our 4th and final episode of
We're never doing this again.
A GTD series. Well, if everybody loves it, we'll do it again. We're gonna talk. We've been mentioning. First episode we talked about capture. Second episode we talked about natural planning model. Third episode last week we talked about weekly review, and this week we're going to talk about tools and tricks. So we're kind of just talking about what we actually use, because I think this is basically our CloudFocus app pick of the week for
pretty
weeks,
much
for the last 4 episodes. We didn't make any for the last 4. So
yep.
I mean, I guess should we start with the big ones and go down, or go for the little ones and go up? I don't know.
Well, why don't we start with the big
daddy?
Big daddy of them all.
So
the big mamma jamma.
We are, and again, as sort of an Arkus tool of choice as well, OmniFocus, which is made by the Omni Group, started as a actual plugin for Omni Outliner, which was their outliner app called Kinkless. Why it's called Kinkless, I don't know. But basically, someone said, hey, I need a way to track all this GTD stuff. And so they took this outliner that you could really do some like templating of, and they turned it into Kinkless. It's called Kinkless GTD. And it worked in Omni Outliner, and it became very popular, and people really liked it. I loved it. I used it, and it was awesome. That's basically what OmniFocus became. Omni Group, the company who's been doing macOS development back in Next days. That's how long they've been doing
Wowzers.
This. Yep. I know way too much about this. They, by their CEO, Ken Case, shout out, Ken.
Ken, if you're listening, let us know.
Yeah, he's actually a nice guy.
Oh, yeah?
So
he's a nice guy?
He is.
Yeah.
I've communicated with him many times. So they decided.
It's good to know.
They took it. They met up. They flew out one Merlin man to help them build a, let's call it a to-do list tracker or a project tracker, but very, very, very integrated into the concepts of GTD.
Yeah.
So it is.
How's that book coming along?
Which one? His?
That Merlin book.
I don't know. No, are you still bitter about that?
Yeah. I was gonna read a book.
Yeah. No, you weren't.
I was gonna buy it.
Maybe. So they built OmniFocus. OmniFocus is now almost onto its like 3rd gen. Omni Group as a company, just a shout out to them. They are very, very good at customer support. They build very solid products. They don't go crazy. They stay in their lane. They build them very, very well. They listen to people, and they stay very close to the Mac OS. So
they do. They do not touch the web so much.
No,
they have the sync service.
It's probably one of the. If someone asked me what's the one problem with OmniFocus, I'd say it doesn't have a web version. I mean, you have an iOS version, you have a desktop version, and there's ways to get into it from the web because it can take emails coming into it. Like, it's pretty cool.
I mean, it has the sync service,
but there's no web interface.
There's no interface,
and I think for them, it's like, well, I think if I were them, if I was saying, it's like, hey, the desktop version's not cheap. It's like $80 or $100 or something. It's not a cheap piece of software. I mean, again, I use this thing 500 times a day, so it doesn't really matter. But I feel like if they built a web version, they could charge like a lower price just for the web version. So you could just get a subscription to the web version, maybe $2 a month or something like that. You wouldn't have the desktop version, wouldn't need it. You could just use the web version. And they could offer all the features it does. It syncs with the sync service. And if you want to have the web version and the iOS version, fine. You want to have the web version, maybe that came free with the desktop version, fine. Anyway, so we use OmniFocus by Omni Group. It is again, it's just a very highly customizable, very powerful Mac OS only piece of software that helps you track all of your GTD stuff. I mean, there are a million videos on it out there. There are a million setup guides. The David Allen company, GTD, actually wrote a guide called Setting Up OmniFocus. So, like, even though they're GTD or getting these done have never sort of blessed anything. They've never said this is the tool because they like to be tool agnostic. Although I've heard he's gotten into building some tools and I've heard he's done it a couple times, like try to get into building software tools. But he's pretty agnostic, Hey, use pen and paper, use a planner, use to-do list, use Wunderlist, use Google Notes, whatever. He's put out all these guides. There's a guide on how to use OmniFocus, how to use Office, like the Office suite, Outlook. There's one on how to use Google. There's one on how to use Apple To Do as your GTD tool. So again, you can pick a lot of tools. I just really like OmniFocus. At this point, I just every time I go look at another tool, I see I look at it for 2 seconds and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't do these two things, and I'm not even gonna play around. So I stick to it pretty fiercely. And I don't know, there's just very little it doesn't do. So, and it's very highly customizable. And so that's why I use it.
Me too.
Nothing else to say?
Yeah, you said it all.
It's, again.
What am I going to say?
It's good.
It's good.
And
it runs at the OS level, so
Yep.
it has key commands that you can capture things anywhere.
Yep, that's pretty much where all web versions lose me.
That's it.
I can't be having this browser open and logged into this site to capture. It has to be ubiquitous across the site. And I know you can do other ways of doing it, but even extensions, I don't want to have to be in Chrome to capture a to-do. Like, I want to capture a to-do anywhere. And the offline actually is nice. I think it's a perfect world of being offline and syncing. Their syncing is pretty solid. They provide a free syncing. It's encrypted, and it has push. It can push changes across to multiple devices. It's pretty darn good. So anyway, that's the big tool of choice. What do you use for? Let's talk next one. What do you use for your calendar?
I use a few things.
Okay.
When I'm looking at my overarching entirety of your calendar, well, because I use multiple calendars,
right,
for different things. So when I'm looking at my overarching big picture calendar, I'm looking at calendar on Mac.
Yeah.
And on my iPad and on my iPhone. And not so much on my Apple Watch. It should be called an iWatch. Anyway.
It's an Apple Watch.
It's an Apple Watch. So, but I mean, behind that are my work calendar is a Google Calendar.
Right.
So that's in the G Suite. And when I'm at work, I'm typically... I have the calendar open in a tab in Chrome.
Right.
So I'm looking at that. But when I'm looking at the bigger picture, I'm looking at calendar because I've got that calendar in there. I've also got a couple of iCloud calendars in there as well. One family calendar, which my wife and I share, which has our own individual events in it.
Blog.arkusinc.com.
Go look at the family calendar blog post
from 5 years ago.
So we share a calendar, and then I have my own personal one.
Right.
For just me. Hidden events.
Nice.
There's actually like nothing on there.
Yeah.
We pretty much use the family calendar as our calendars.
True. I have a personal one too, and I'm always looking like, what do I have this for? It's only if like I have to do something that I don't need. Like I'm gonna go buy her a present or something. Like I throw it on that calendar. I guess I could throw it on my work calendar.
I use my work calendar for most of those things.
Yeah, but then my work calendar syncs and everybody can see that. So if I put like,
I don't really care.
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
Well, anyway.
I'm not putting anything in there that I wouldn't care if anyone saw.
So I do the same things except for I'm pretty much only using Apple Calendar. Yes, it syncs to the Google, but I don't ever. Almost rarely go into the web interface of either mail or calendar.
Yeah,
I always
I'm
stay
opposite.
in the apps.
I'm Gmail. I'm mail.google.com and I'm calendar.google.com and
I don't
I'm on the web.
So for me, the intersection of those two calendars, and I have my TripIt, which I love because it shows me all my flights and stuff and hotels, and I have holidays in there, birthdays are in there, like
Use Apple Mail, right?
Yeah,
so like
use Apple
aside from calendar, I mean, Apple Mail, it has some shortcomings when it comes to like our work, like the things that we do here at Arkus.
Yeah.
That I've found I don't use it because I need the integration with Salesforce.
Yeah.
I need it.
Right.
I have to be able to put things into Salesforce, look things up while I'm in Mail. Very useful. Add things to records in Salesforce. Right. And Apple Mail just doesn't have that plugin architecture to allow, and nobody's pushing them for it either.
No.
So it's not a client that I rely on for work at all. It doesn't work for me.
I like it because I like the unified. I don't consider my inbox is my inbox, and it's all my emails. And I get emails. I have way too many email addresses, but I have like a very, very personal one that very few people know. I have like my one I've had for 21 years. That it's the one, it's the spam a lot, but it's one all purchases, Amazon, everything goes there, statements, banks, everything. And then I have the Arkus, and then I have a couple others. I just like that I don't have to go to different places to check my mail. My mail is in one place, it's in one app, and I deal with it all the same way. And other than that integration, it's like...
But you don't necessarily leverage it the same way that I would use it. So it's not that important.
No, and for those purposes, I know what you're talking about. There's ways to, you're talking about Cirrus integration or right? There's stuff that it can do that. I agree. I totally wish I had it, but it's not that big of a pick to get me out of Apple Mail, which I find very good. So I'm pretty much all calendar all the time, and it just syncs. Everything syncs to Salesforce and syncs to Google and syncs down, and just works. And I trust it so much that I don't care. And the family calendar and the intersection of work and personal, we talked about this in the last 3 episodes, the intersection of work and personal is so much that I can't look. Like, if you just show me my work calendar, I can't do it because I don't know what's on my personal. If you just show my personal, I obviously can't do my work. They need to intersect. I need to see both of them at the same time because there are too many things going on in my life that I don't have like a 8:30 to 5:30 block every day. So I got stuff floating around all my life. I have to look at both of them. And so if someone's asked me for an appointment, both ways, I have to know what's happening on that side and what's happening on this side. So, and I know I could replace that with a Google Calendar and have 2 shared calendars and do it all in Google, but I just like the Mac interface. And then lastly, I'd say my big GTD tool, kind of the only other one, I guess I have a couple. So for sort of long-term storage or, what we call the 43 folders, which you don't need anymore because a lot of that's in OmniFocus. OmniFocus has a great ability to have things come up and review
your reference
them.
Material, if you will.
Reference material, I have 2 places to keep reference material. One is the file system. So for things that are hard copies of things or soft copies, PDFs, Word documents, PowerPoint, right? Reference material, statements, taxes, that's all in the file system, and it's in right now
on your actual desktop,
on my actual desktop, and in Dropbox, that's the beauty of Dropbox, is it makes it look like it's on your desktop, but it's also syncing up so you can get access to it anywhere.
So I have the same, but I use Google Drive.
Right. So we use Google Drive at work.
We do.
And Google Drive doesn't allow you to use 2 Google Drives for syncing at the same time.
I don't sync either of them.
Right. Oh, well, that's just... You and I, we've had a discussion. I'll show you how you're wasting time.
I don't need you to show me because I know what it looks like and I do not care.
Okay. It's just quicker.
I'm not
going to take the time to go
care.
into a browser and drag and drop crap up.
I don't care. The tab is right there.
It's terrible. So, I like the file system. The file system for long-term reference, anything that is referenceable that is not a document, so a Graphel, again, PDF, Word document, all that, goes into Evernote. So any notes, lists, things I want to do, long-term things, calls I had personally, it's Evernote is everything. I'm not, I like Evernote. I think a lot of people have problems with Evernote and just sort of how they've kind of expanded. They keep kind of putting on more and more. But I went to do even a bake-off with them in Apple Notes because Apple Notes is sort of coming along and they're adding on new features. And some of it, I was like, ooh, that's kind of nice. They now have shared notes. You can do shared Apple Notes, and it does tracking and some neat stuff. But there's just a few things in Evernote, like OCRing let alone. You can upload a picture and it OCRs it, and so you could find it again.
Yeah,
like that alone is like whatever.
It's pretty good.
So I use Evernote. It's a cross-platform. It's probably one of the only tools. I guess Dropbox is the only tools that I use that are cross-platform. But it's got a web version. It's got desktop versions. It's got mobile versions. It syncs. It encrypts. It has passwords. I use the premium version because I use it so much. I don't care. I'm going to pay for it. And that's where I put all. So in the GTD world, I keep a document that's called Areas of Focus. And it's one of the things I review in my weekly review every week. That's kind of just like high level, like it's kind of it's a weird document because it's like, who am I? So it's like, I'm a father, I'm a manager, I'm a partner, I'm a spouse, right? So it's like, it doesn't say but it has all those things because it's my areas of focus. It's things that are like in my life. It's my titles, I guess. And so I look at it every week to say, are there anything in here that I'm not doing? Is there things I should be doing? Like, I'm a friend. Like, and then it usually sparks something. I'm like, oh yeah, but I haven't talked to so-and-so. Like, why don't I just call them up?
Right.
I definitely keep all my lists. So lists of restaurants I want to go to, lists of places to go, lists of races I want to run, lists of stupid TV shows that Justin wants me to watch.
Which you won't watch.
List of movies.
You just keep ignoring my TV shows.
Oh, no. Sometimes I watch them and they're terrible. And then, another period. And
that's a great show.
Movies, bucket lists, travel, places books I read.
This all
shows.
You can go on and on, but this all goes back to our first episode of Capture.
Right.
You have consciously decided to write these things down.
Yes.
And use them as part of like, oh, right, I've written these things down. I'm reviewing them on a base on
not those things, but yes.
What I mean is you've decided. Well, some of them you are. You just talked about it.
Yeah, but I don't. But on a weekly review, I don't review like plays I go to or sports.
But you
events.
have it as reference material that you've captured, so it's out of your head. You don't have to remember what TV show I told you to watch 3 months ago.
Right.
At some point, you'll be like, I want to watch a new TV show.
Do it all the time.
Let me go to that list I keep.
Yep.
Oh, that's that one Justin told me about. Cool, let's watch that one.
Not only do I capture that you told me, I talked to who told me, so it's you or somebody else, and then when. And so then if I watch it, I'll then ping them back and be like, hey, remember that show you told me to watch 4 years ago? I just watched it.
See how that all came together there, right?
For the capture side?
From the capture side, partially from the review side, I think another tool that, this isn't quite GTD, but I'm going to lump it in because it's productivity. And again, GTD is a productivity methodology at its core.
I've heard that.
Text Expander.
Oh, God, yeah.
We use Text Expander at Arkus. It is a tool that Arkus uses. Every employee has it. And if they're not using it, they should be. If you're listening, you should be using it. It is such a time saver.
Huge.
And again, it's not really a GTD thing, but it's a productivity thing. And it sits on the line because it doesn't really help you in any sort of GTD methodology by the book,
right?
But it does help you get things done faster,
right?
And if you don't have to type a whole paragraph out 15 times, instead you just hit a couple of keys on your keyboard and it just pops open. Well, that's pretty good. So it's not really a GTD tool. It doesn't really fall in that category, but it is a productivity tool, and it will help with certain aspects of, as you're going through your day and you're accomplishing tasks, and, you need to, again, anything you need to write or type more than once or twice, you should have a text expander for.
Yeah.
And it's such a useful piece of software. And it'll even tell you like how much time it saved you based on like how many words per minute you type, how many snippets you've expanded over time. It's pretty insane how much time you save when you look at it. And I think I looked the other day and it was some crazy amount of hours.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It was like, you've gotten days in your life back.
And I was on a computer, so I was at this conference. I was doing this trailhead, and I didn't have my computer because I left it, and I just had my iPad. And I was like, I'm not doing a trailhead on my iPad. So I sat down. They had MacBook Pros, and I was amazed. Like, it's so funny. We work in the cloud, and so I could log into the Salesforce. I could log into G Suite. I got to do all the two-factor, but I did all that. Boom, boom, boom. Got into everything. And then I went to write an email in Google, in Gmail, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I don't have text expander. Like, there's no like this, and I kept hitting it every time and I couldn't expand out something. And I was like, wow, you rely on that a ton.
Yeah. I don't even know my phone number. my office phone number.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't know the Arkus fax number.
Nope.
I don't know these things.
Nope. But I know the key command to get them.
That's part of it, right? That's kind of. I'll tie that back to the GTD, right?
That's not a bad way.
So that works. That's for the win right there.
Maybe.
I have relieved my brain of having to remember phone numbers. Just like, you can go into your phone and be like, wow, I have hundreds of contacts in here.
Right.
I remember back in the day, like, you'd remember all your friends' phone numbers. Like, you knew their phone number.
Right.
I mean, you had a phone, like a little address book, maybe, where you wrote people's phone numbers down, but, you'd remember their phone numbers.
Right.
But now there's so many other, it's like phone numbers, emails, work phone, cell phone, other email, birthday, anniversary, all sorts of things that you can keep in contact lists. So all of these, again, just to bring it back, with Text Expander, I don't need to know my own office fax number.
Right.
And I never will, and I won't clutter my brain with it. Just like I don't need to know your 5th email address. I have it.
Right.
I don't need to remember your birthday.
Right.
I don't have to. I've got it.
Right.
It's in the contact list. So those all play a role in GTD, more in the way of mind like water, right? Like clearing your head of useless information and being able to recall it when you need it.
I'll say the last one I'll mention, then we'll get out of here, just to throw it in there. I talk about this all the time. Probably one of my favorite tools at home is a scanner, the IX 5000 or something. I need
to purchase a scanner.
Oh, it is. This is part of my week review. I go through and all my paper and all the mail that came, I scan it and I shred it. Scan, shred, repeat. Scan, shred, repeat. And it goes in, paperless, done. Got it in a system. Works like a charm. That thing can chew through. It is really, 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 really good. I love that for just, getting paper out of my life. I used to have all these folders, like actual physical folders. And every year I'd have to swap from one folder to like the next one and then put that one in a box and put it in the closet. I have not done that for like 4 years because I just nothing gets kept. It's all electronic. Like I don't keep any physical paper.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. That's our I don't know, tricks. I guess we gave away lots of tricks. Tons of tricks. So we'll wrap it up. We'll be back next week with kind of review. We'll kind of get back into the blog world. We'll get back to see what's happening with all the stuff, with all that crazy news that Salesforce announced last week and 2 weeks ago. We'll cover that. Maybe talk about our vacations. We'll be back in August to talk about that. So until then, hope you enjoyed our series. Hope it was fun. Hope you look forward to it. Hope you learned something. Tweet us at Just Edelstein, at Jason M. Atwood, at Arkus Inc. Hit us up on all the social, not Google+, but definitely in the Success Power of Hub. For you GTD people, we do have a GTD group in the Success community. So if you're a Salesforce and GTD, there's a group with 140 or so people in it that I apparently share some stuff in there, and we do some other special things. So we want to do that. Until then, we'll be back. Justin and Jason saying, enjoy those cloudy days.